Hello, and welcome to another episode from the desk of a Navy wife, where you may or may not hear my kiddos in the background. My name is Raina Worthy, and on this podcast, we like to dive deep into the unique challenges, triumphs, and experiences that come with being a military spouse. So kick back, relax, make that cup of coffee, or get that evening dinner ready, and just listen to me in the background. Hello, everyone. I know it has been a while. If you have not heard me on my podcast, I have been taking some of my own advice and actually balancing everything out. With holidays and my family comes a lot of birthday celebrations, and so being able to spend time with family and focusing on them has been my priority. In addition to all of that, I have also been working on a special project for all of my listeners, fellow Milspouses out there, and even those that are just supporting the military community. So I've been working on quite a few projects, and that has been keeping me busy as well. But that does not mean I am done with my podcast. And so I will continue to bring you tips and resources. So today's episode is just going to be about my journey as a military spouse and heading overseas, the things that I went through, and then hopefully throughout this podcast, it's going to be able to provide some tips to you as well, some things to look out for if you are going overseas and if you're going overseas while you're pregnant. So all of this took place back in 2019. We were in Florida when we found out we were going to Japan. We were very excited. I was personally anxious because I had not been outside the country before, so I wasn't quite sure of everything that I was going to need for my personal journey. I was also pregnant during that time. So I had already had a 2-year-old, and then I was pregnant with my second child. So going overseas, I had lots and lots of emotions, both excitement, anxious, sad because I was leaving my family and all of that. So some things that I did prior to leaving the country. First, I looked up, what Japan was about, what it had to offer, things that I could expect while living there when it came to their culture, right? Because I'm in a different country. I wanted to make sure I was going to be respectful. I also made sure I looked into military-wise, like what the installation was like. Did they offer anything when it came to what housing could potentially look like? Was there already a spouse community that was on social media that I could connect with? And making sure I started reaching out to them early if I was able to, finding out the command information to see if they had an ombudsman page. Those are things that I started to do and research. And if you know me, I'm very big on research and planning as much as I'm able to. So anything that was within grasp for me, I made sure that I took that on. I did my research, looked into everything, and I used all the social media platforms you can think of that could potentially share anything that has to do with overseas and military life. I took advantage of. Some other things that I looked into was passports. So what was the process when it came to getting a passport? What it was the process when it came to getting a passport for your little ones? So of course I had to get one for my 2-year-old. How was that going to work, right? How are we going to have them not smile at the camera for the passport and not cry? And then what was kind of going to be expected once I had my child overseas? Because I knew that, okay, I'm pregnant. How does that work? How does having a child overseas work? Do they send us out? Do they send us to another military installation? What does that look like? For me, I made sure I looked into all of that. And then I made sure I also penciled in time with my family. And what I mean by that is my parents, my siblings, my friends before leaving the country. So what we did, we packed up everything that we could. Of course, with the military, they offered movers. So making sure we had everything labeled. That's another thing, another tip that I would give you. Label every single thing. Take pictures of everything, especially if you're new to this military life. Please take pictures, because if things break, you need to have proof that it wasn't already damaged prior to them packing it up. So be sure to take pictures of things. Make sure you have a timestamp or date on those pictures. Have them in a file. Anything that is very, very expensive or important to you, or something that's not easily able to get replaced or not be replaced at all, those would be your top kind of high-end purchases. So when they give you a paper to fill out all of the things that you have that they're packing up, you're going to want to make sure you list those on there. So whether it's your television, your couch, your portraits, and then the value of those items you're going to also place on there. how many you have, what's the value of them. Make note of that. And then while your movers are labeling things, make sure you record the number. So if it's box number 31, okay, number 31 has this item in it. And if you want to be super organized, have pictures, put it in a binder with the pictures that has the date and everything, and then what item number, what box number it may have been. I have heard horror stories when it comes to people's things that are getting moved. And there's actually also a Facebook page that says lost during PCS, lost during my PCS. If you're not a part of that Facebook group and you have lost some things and you're very familiar with the moving in the military, I would advise you join the group just to see if any of your items are in there, because a lot of families, unfortunately, do get other people's things. And that is another podcast episode potentially in the future where we could talk about what can get lost. But my tip to you is to get everything packed, label everything, put it in a binder if you can, take pictures and all of that. Now for me, because I had a toddler and I was pregnant, my spouse sent me home to go be with my family a month before everything was packed up. So he was on the phone with me recording things and getting things packed up by himself. And so he did all of that while I was able to spend a month with my family. He got everything out of the house and then came and joined us to be with my family just for a little while, because our families lived a state away from each other. So we were able to visit one another's families, say our goodbyes, have dinners. We were able to have a farewell party with everyone that is leaving. So that's another tip for you. Once you get everything packed up, schedule out some time to be with family and friends if you're going overseas, because it's going to be a while before you can see them face to face. And unbeknownst to us, COVID happened right when we went overseas, maybe about a year or so after. So take advantage of that time, because things happen while you're overseas. Loved ones pass away, friends pass away, or there's different just milestones that you're not able to be a part of physically that you may have been able to when you were stateside. So those are things you're going to want to take into account. So take advantage of this time to go visit everyone that you can before you leave. When it comes to packing, I have a list on my blog. You can check out deskofanavy.com and you'll see my blog where I talk about different things you're going to want to pack, especially if you have little ones and you're traveling overseas. But my main tip would be to focus on clothes that you're going to be able to wear within a week. So if it's a week for you, a week for your child, a week for your spouse, or a week for your children, pack that. At least 7 days minimum, max. If you can fit it in your suitcase, get 14 days into a suitcase, because it is like you're packing your whole life away. And so you're going to be coming to this country with multiple suitcases. You're going to have your suitcase. You may have the suitcase for the kids, and then you're going to have your spouse's suitcase. And then everything that you could think of that's legal that can come over there. And I'm laughing because we might think, okay, what's not legal to bring over there? But certain things in advance, you'd have to get that written off that you can bring that into their country. And I'm talking like Tylenol, right? If you take Tylenol or ibuprofen, little things like that, you have to make sure can even come into that country. And so if it's something you have to take, have some type of record, reach out to the embassy in advance to get all of that okayed that you're going to be bringing those items with you. So some things we packed, I looked in advance to see, are there outlets different than ours? Like, am I going to have to buy some type of different backing for when I charge my cell phone, which I didn't have to. Going over there, they had the same outlets we had at the airport. And I'm pretty sure it's because also their outlets are not any different than ours in the area we were going to. And, I was okay on that side. So to share my story, when we flew to Japan, we were in Michigan at the time. Now, the first day that we flew out, or we were expected to fly out, they had actually canceled our flight. And the reason that the flight got canceled had to do with the military's administration side of things. When I tell you we've gone through a lot, we have. And so I guess they didn't process it completely like they were supposed to. And in doing that, we were not able to board the plane. So it was canceled for us to be able to fly out to our location to then get to Japan. So we had to go back once the admin office, military side, took care of everything. They got us booked for the next day. So then the next day we all boarded up and flew out to Japan. Now with me and being pregnant, I definitely had to carry all of my records on me. So that is something I would suggest to you, is carrying, aside from your passport, you're going to want to carry the birth certificate of your children or your child, your own information. It's going to be a lot of important information, but there are folders that exist that you can zip up and you can lock. And I would say carry it on your person. So you know how you can carry a personal item onto a plane, carry that on your backpack, put it in front of you, walk around with it like that, and you'll be golden by the time you get there. So the experience for us when it came to being on the plane, when you're going overseas, it's going to be a long flight. And if you have little ones, be sure that you take time every couple of hours to walk around the plane. Walk around, stretch a little bit, get some snacks, have some activities for them to play on the plane. Again, these are some tips that I provide for you in my blog post on what type of things you can bring. But if you want an even more detailed list, feel free to message me and I can give you an even more detailed list. But I did things, just as an example, I did like window stickers that can easily peel back off. I did triangle crayons because triangle crayons are less likely to roll off the tabletop when they're coloring. I did activity books. I did plush books, anything to keep her preoccupied. And even though she was 2, she was busy. She was a busy toddler, but she was familiar with flying because in a previous position that I had, job that I had, she flew with me a lot because I had to travel for work. So she kind of got used to it. But this was going to be a long flight. And so I was a nervous wreck. It did go smoother than I thought it was going to go. And I think it's because we had a lot of room on this flight and a lot of snacks. And they were very, courteous, entertaining. We had TV and my little one definitely slept. We just left her be. Now, if you're pregnant and you're flying overseas, I would recommend getting compression socks because you're going to swell. Walk around because you're going to swell. Try to get some type of massage or massage your tummy or massage your legs or feet a little bit if you're able to even lift them up. But if not, please wear compression socks. Be sure to walk around some just so your body doesn't ache as much because you're going to be sitting for a long time. And also be sure to ask for a belt extender. They do exist if you did not know that. When you get on a plane and you ask for an extender, they give you another belt that you hook onto your airplane belt. And then you have more room when you can actually fit into your seatbelt. For the most part, the flight was actually really nice. What I will say I was shocked with, and I think it's because, again, I've never been in a different country, is they give you a card to fill out, and it's for customs. Basically, you're saying what you're bringing into their country. So do you have any, liquids? Do you have anything you're not supposed to have? Food, things of that nature. So you have to list everything that you may have. And for us, we didn't. And we had to basically also voice why we were coming to the country. So we had to list out that we were going to be living there for quite some time. And so they do ask that. Are you visiting? Who are you visiting? What's the address? And, they ask all that type of information. Once you get off the plane, you get all of your items, your carry-on, your bags and everything. What I will say that I loved about Japan is that they had huge carts that we can put everything onto. And we didn't have to pay for the carts. I don't know if that's like that everywhere stateside. I don't know if it's like that at every country, but I feel like when I traveled and it was stateside, I had to pay for my cart to be able to push my luggage around. But this was free. So it was nice having that. Another thing I will point out to you is be prepared to not be able to connect to anybody for quite some time because you have to find a Wi-Fi. You have to try to get a cell phone SIM card, which I would recommend, something to get you back into the world, I guess you could say, when it comes to being able to access other people. But when you touch down, all of that's not going to work anymore. At least for us, it didn't. If you have T-Mobile or you have Sprint or AT&T or whoever, and you're going to be moving stateside and they can just transfer everything over there once you get overseas, then I would recommend that so that once you touch down, you can access what you need to. For us, we didn't have that. So we needed to make sure we got SIM card in the airport. They have a place where you can take your money from US dollars and you can transfer it into yen. And that's what we did. So it took some time. I was blessed to be married to someone who's already been in Japan. So he already knew what to expect. I did not. It was a little overwhelming because, again, I'm in a different country. I was nervous. Is anything going to be in English? How am I going to be able to get around? But it was. Things were translated into English. The signs, they also had English on it. So it was very easy to find out where you needed to be. Now, once we got there, we got everything we needed to get, making sure my toddler was taken care of, right? Listen, no judgment. If you have to put that backpack on them with the little string attached, I know some people feel like it's like walking a pet and they're not okay with it. I understand that. For me, I was pregnant. My husband had to carry, I think, like 5 suitcases, and I couldn't carry my toddler, and we couldn't carry our stroller at the time. It would have been too much. So I had her with a cute backpack on that was buckled, and I just had the backpack end attached to my wrist. That way she wasn't completely glued to my legs. She could walk around, but she didn't get too far, right? That's something that I wanted to avoid. So that's what I did. That was okay with me, and it worked out, and she could still walk and play around. Now, back to us getting everything. What I found out when we were there, and this is another thing you want to do, another tip, look for USO. You're going to look for the USO when you get there, because they're going to be the ones that can get you to where you need to be. And for us, we got to the USO. Hey, excuse me, do you know where our bus is going to be to pick us up, to take us to the installation? And they were able to get us that information. We then walked a little further. It was quite a journey, and we sat down and we waited. And we had to wait for about 2 to 3 hours before the bus came to pick us up. Now, at that point, I'm exhausted, but I'm excited at the same time. So I'm sitting and I'm waiting, and I'm like, oh, this is going to be cool. I can't wait to see what this is going to be like. The bus came. It was nighttime. They already had car seats on there, so we were able to just strap our daughter down and relax and hope that she dozed off, and she did. And so it took some time to get from the airport to the installation, but it was really cool seeing all the different type of signs, seeing that we were driving on a different side of the road, and take in as much as I could while it was at nighttime. So once we got to the installation, we checked into our hotel. A tip I would give for you: call your hotel in advance, maybe a couple days, maybe 2 weeks out if you're able to, just to make sure that they know you're coming and they have a room ready for you and they're tracking all of that information. This is very important because in our experience when we went, they didn't have us down. No one knew we were coming. They didn't have us on the board. Luckily, they had space for us in the hotel. This is something that your sponsor is supposed to do to help set you up. But our sponsor was actually on deployment at the time. And so no one checked us in. No one was tracking that we were supposed to be there at a certain time. So that's a whole nother story, but it does happen. And so I would advise you get everything set in stone, good and rocking as part of your checklist before you go overseas. For us, once we got there, we checked in, they had room for us, and we passed out. We were exhausted, but we got into our room and we relaxed. Now, expectations when going overseas and expecting housing, unless you are doing your research way in advance and you somehow found someone that's going to be selling a place, 9 times out of 10, you're going to need to be there physically and staying in a hotel in order for you to then get into housing, to get accepted for housing, because they need your paperwork. They need to see how many rooms you have. They need to see your orders and all of that. They need to see all your documentation that you can be there, you're going to be there. So something to expect when you're going overseas is housing's not going to be there. Housing's not going to be available to you when you first land. You're going to be in a hotel. You're likely going to be in a hotel for 1 to 2 months waiting on housing because, again, there's PCS season. People leave, people float in, things of that nature. They want to make sure there's space for you. And if there's not space for you, they may offer the opportunity for you to live off post or off base. For us, when we first got there, families could not live off the installation. As the year went on, people were able to, but when we first got there, families were not allowed to during that time. So if you were a family, you had to live on the installation, which means you needed to live in a hotel until they could find you housing. And if you were a single sailor, then you could live off base. So for us, we needed to wait. Our HHG, which is our household goods, that takes about 3 months before it can get to you. At least in our experience, it took 3 months. And so we were there already for a month before our items could come. Now, thankfully, what they do is they'll call and say, hey, we have your household goods. What address do we want to deliver it to? And then you can let them know, oh, hey, we don't have housing yet. We should have it maybe in the next couple of weeks or in a month or so. So they were able to hold on to our items. For us, we were in a hotel for a month. But once we got housing and it was available and we moved into a location, we were able to schedule for our household goods to be delivered. And so that was a great day to have all of our items there and delivered for us. And I loved everything about it because I could unpack. It was like Christmas all over again. Now, something you're going to want to prepare for when it comes to your things getting dropped off, going through your list. Remember that binder you created, those pictures and things that you had and you wrote down and you logged everything? You're going to want to go through all of that and make sure nothing's broken. For us, we definitely had quite a few things broken. And there were some heirlooms, unfortunately, that were not found. So I'm not quite sure where they went. I was definitely devastated. I cried for a while when we lost them, but those were things, again, that we could not replace. That's when we found out the whole process of, oh, you can fill out this paperwork and they're supposed to give you X amount of dollars to reimburse you and all of that. So for us, there were some things that was not replaceable. Other things, it was like, okay, it was on its last leg anyway. It is what it is. It's okay that it's broken. Just throw it away type of thing. So yes, you're going to be going through your list. You're going to be checking, making sure everything's good, making sure your numbers align, because I have found out that some moving companies will take your items out and put them in different boxes, and they relabel those boxes with different numbers, and it can be a nightmare, some of these moving places. So again, whole nother episode, podcast potentially in the future where that can be discussed, but that's just something to expect, and giving you a heads up if you're newer to the military community and moving. So some things to expect when you're moving overseas, you're moving in Japan. You're not going to have a car right off the bat. You're not going to be able to just drive in this country that you've never driven in. So be prepared. They're going to put you in a class, some type of class that welcomes you to the country. And that class is typically hosted at your support center on that installation. And it's called AOB. And that's a class where they're kind of welcoming you, teaching you about the culture, teaching you a little bit about the language, and then also making sure you're getting all the information you need to know where things are located on your installation, how you can take the train, how you can take the bus, and then how you can go about signing up to get a license to drive in the country. We signed up to get our license, and so we had to go to a class. Then we had to take a test. And then after we took our test, if we passed, we then received our driver's license. Once we got our driver's license and picked that up, we could then purchase the vehicle and go about everything we needed to drive in that country. What was different was it's easier to buy a vehicle for the most part, and only because a lot of the bases have people that are PCSing, and when they're PCSing, they're just trying to get rid of the car that they had. And so they'll have, for us, there was a lineup of cars on base that they were selling, like $300, $400, $500. Sometimes your someone at their command is moving and saying, hey, do you want my car? And they may give you the car. So the way that works is after those things take place, right? You find your vehicle. You then need to go to the ID office, get everything transferred over to you. There's going to be an insurance company you need to go to, get your insurance and everything transferred over, pay for that. You need to also go and get your taxes taken care of for the car, because at least in Japan, you have to pay for the taxes, the weight tax, you have to pay for the road tax. So you get the car completely inspected, saying it's good to go and drive on the road. You need to get everything really basically in your name. And then you do that every year, I want to say. You have to get the road tax. And then your insurance, you're just paying for however you build out your insurance. And then you need to get your sticker to get on and off base. So there is a process when doing that. I wish I would have did a vlog when I lived in Japan, because you would have went to the road tax place with me, because I was walking around with 2 kids by myself in Japan, going to 5 different buildings, trying to get my car taken care of. And it took some time, because you have to go from one window to the next window, then another building on that window. So it's a whole thing. When we go back to Japan, because I'm manifesting that, I will definitely have to make a note to do a vlog for my newbies or people that have not been to Japan before, to show you that experience. But it was an experience nonetheless. So you got your car, you're driving, right? It's okay. Some people never left base. They wanted to just stay on base, and that's what they were comfortable with. Then by all means, absolutely stay on base. I personally wanted to explore off base. So once I had my license and I felt comfortable driving around on base, I had my husband with me, and I was like, okay, let's practice off base. And so I drove, and I think we drove to get like food the first go around off base. So we drove down some ways, and I was like, okay. And then a little bit more, I would go further and further. And then I would start following other spouses that went thrift store shopping. And they're like, oh girl, we're going to go over here. We're going to go thrift shopping. And I'd hop in my car and I'd follow them, because they've been here for a year or two. They knew where they were going. So I was just following them. What I will say is Google Maps helped with everything. It did work over there, so I loved it. And as time went on and the years went on, I stayed on the road. Like, I did a lot of trips with the kids by myself, and I loved traveling a lot over in Japan. And The reason why I travel by myself oftentimes is because my husband was on deployment for a majority of our time in Japan. And I didn't want me and the kids to feel stuck in the house. I wanted us to be able to explore this country, take advantage of being there. So every opportunity that I got to take off work or any weekend that I had off and I wasn't elsewhere, I took advantage of going places. And so it was affordable. And I love that about Japan. I would look up a place. I would say, okay, it costs this much. I'd get an Airbnb. I'd load up the car with the kids and we drive to that place. And we've driven hours away, 2, 3, 4 hours to another place to explore that place and then come back home at the end of the weekend. And that's what we would do. And if you're someone that's like, you know what, I don't plan on driving when I go overseas, then don't. You have the opportunity to take the train if you want to. The train can get you everywhere. So you can definitely throw the kids in there and enjoy and explore and have day trips. I know many of spouses that have done that and they love it. And for me, I liked driving because I could stop and check out other places along the way, which I did do often. I would see something on the side of the road and I'd just go over there and say, oh, let's go check out, this strawberry farm, or let's go look at this. And so that was really nice to do. So tips for you would be definitely researching in advance if you can the things that you want to do, so you can be able to kind of look that up when you get there. Researching what it all takes if you're going to a different country outside of Japan. So maybe you're going to Spain or somewhere else. Look up, how can we drive? How can we get our license? Does that get offered through the military? If it does, how do we go about getting it? And then what's all expected once we get a car? What all type of taxes and payments and stuff do we need to do, and how frequently does it need to be done? Definitely do your research on that so you can be prepared. With that, I'm going to wrap up this episode. I talked about what to expect when you're getting ready to go overseas, some tips when it comes to packing when you're going overseas, visiting family before you go to overseas, and kind of what it's like once you land and get there, Japan specifically. So hopefully this has been enlightening for a few of you, or you're familiar with this, or you have your own stories that you want to share. Feel free to reach out to me and maybe you can hop on another episode where we're talking about being and living overseas. Thank you for tuning into another episode. Feel free to connect with me on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, or on my site at deskofaNavyWife.com. Thank you all again for tuning in this week. I look forward to bringing you resources, support, and laughter. Sending my love from the desk of a Navy wife.